The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
Talk of Champions, Short Sessions.
Long story short.
Welcome in to an all-new edition of Talk of Champions, Short Sessions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit, been on Twitter. Joining me today, Chuck Rounsaville, my publisher at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and Fleet of On 3, because some news has come down this morning, January 17th, 2024. Derrick Nix, the longtime Ole Miss football assistant for 16 years, is leaving Ole Miss to become the new offensive coordinator under former and now current Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze. Where does Lane Kiffin turn next? If anybody on this beat would know, it would be Chuck Rounsaville. So he's coming up in just a second. This edition of Talk of Champions Short Sessions is brought to you in part by Riverland Roofing. For all of your roofing needs, it's Riverland Roofing. All of us are looking for peace of mind this new year in 2024. We want to know that our roof is taken care of. And whether you need an inspection, a new roof, or a maintenance program, Riverland Roofing has you covered. Homer Business, they're a GAF Master Elite contractor and can offer warranties that last a lifetime. Licensed and insured, Riverland services Mississippi and its surrounding states. For all of your roofing needs, it's Riverland Roofing. Text or call them today at 662-644-4297. That's 662-644-4297, or visit them online at riverlandroofing.com, riverlandroofing.com. It's Riverland Roofing, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network. Chuck, how are you, man?
I'm good, my friend. I'm a little sad that my buddy Derrick Nix is leaving after 16 years at Ole Miss, but he sees an opportunity to advance his career, and you can't blame him.
No, you can't blame Derrick at all, but it is a loss for Ole Miss. He was at Ole Miss for 16 years. Without a doubt, one of the very best in-state recruiters on staff for Lane Kiffin. And we're going to get into potential replacements and candidates and what we might be hearing. But first and foremost, you just don't see 16 years at one place for an assistant in college football these days. Just what do you think about Derrick and the run that he had here?
And the fact that he worked for 4 different head coaches, I think it was 4, and they all trusted him. They all advanced him in his career. They all gave him great responsibility, particularly in recruiting. It says it all. I mean, 4 coaches can't be wrong. He's well respected. He's a dynamite recruiter in the state of Mississippi. Behind the scenes guy a lot. People say, well, he didn't sign so-and-so. He didn't sign so-and-so. Let me tell you, he had his hand in nearly every Mississippi signee that we've had for the last 16 years. Now, he may not have been the chief recruiter, but he had something to do with it.
And don't forget, Lane initially didn't retain Derrick Nix off of Matt Luke's staff. He let him go. But at the end of putting together the core group of his coaching staff, he looks around. He needs a wide receivers coach. But he wanted to fill that spot with the best in-state Mississippi recruiter he could find. Well, Derrick Nix was on the unemployment line. And when you compared resumes, few, if anyone, was better. So he brings him back. And it was really a feather in the cap of Derrick that he was able to adapt, move from coaching running backs to the position he played and where he'd always coach wide receivers, and develop guys like Elijah Moore, Dontario Drummond, on and on, Jonathan Mingo, a number of players in a room that, quite frankly, is one of the very best in the country. So Derrick deserves a lot of credit in that way for adapting and finding a way to always make himself invaluable to Ole Miss's overall organizational structure and what it did every single day.
Yeah, and not only that, let's talk about the personal side. Derrick is an outstanding human being. I mean, he and his wife have had surrogate children for 3 children. They're well respected in the community. They're just good people, just good-hearted people, good people that try to help other people. And it's going to be a loss to the community, not just Ole Miss coaching staff. So not a good day.
Yeah, definitely not a good day for anybody who had a relationship with Derrick. He was just a great guy, a great ambassador for Ole Miss. He worked his tail off, poured himself completely into this place for 16 years, 4 head coaches, just deserves all the credit in the world. And it's also exciting in that he gets a promotion of much needed and long overdue promotion to potentially call plays. That's the interesting thing. A couple of weeks ago, it comes out that Hugh Freeze has gotten rid of both of his coordinators, and he's going to take over play calling duties. He's an offensive-minded head coach. That's what he did at Ole Miss. Ken Austin, he's getting the whole band back together. Ken Austin's going to be his quarterback's coach, and now Derrick comes over. The hang-up, this has been happening for a little while now. I mean, Hugh's been all over Derrick for a couple of weeks now, and the hang-up was that he wasn't going to be calling plays. And yet Ole Miss comes out and announces this news in its own statement before Auburn says anything, with a quote from Lane that says, "We are grateful for Coach Nix and express our gratitude to Derrick and his family for their invaluable contributions and dedication to the success that we have achieved at Ole Miss." And then he does vintage Lane Kiffin, acknowledging the opportunity to become a first-time play caller. With full-time play calling duties as offensive coordinator at Auburn, we extend our sincere well wishes to the Nix family in this new endeavor. We will begin the search for a new wide receivers coach immediately with the objective of finding the best fit to coach the top wide receiver room in America. Again, vintage Lane Kiffin.
That's just what Lane does, and that's fine. I'm not involved in that Twitter world very much, but just 3 or 4 we tweeted out a picture of Derrick in his office, leaned back in his recliner and saying, not recliner, but office chair, saying, so I'm tired of being asked if Derrick Nix is going to Auburn. Just typical Lane.
Do you think Derrick will get to call plays?
I think what it'll end up being is just like Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr., I think they're going to be collaborative with Freeze's offense, with a mix of Nix's offense. I think Nix's philosophy is very similar to Hugh Freeze's and Lane Kiffin's. I think they like to run the football. I think they, want to establish the run, but they like to spread things out. They like tempo. So I don't think there's going to be a real big adjustment period for Nix. Plus, you got to remember, Nix worked in Freeze's offense for 5 years while Freeze was here. So I'm sure they've worked out all their philosophical strategies and how this is going to work for them. I'm not concerned about that too much at all. My only concern, as it always is with Ole Miss and what direction is Lane going to go in to replace Derrick and replace the tight end coach that went to East Carolina or Coastal Carolina, wherever he went. John David Baker, where'd he go?
John David Baker went to become the offensive coordinator at East Carolina. So this opens up a second spot on Lane Kiffin's staff. Wide receivers coach, tight ends coach Joe Cox from Alabama is a name we've heard for tight ends coach. Kelvin Bolden was reported to become the next Ole Miss tight ends coach by Football Scoop weeks ago, and I actually wrote a column praising the move by Lane Kiffin. That has not happened yet. He's a former wide receiver in college. He coached wide receivers at Florida and elsewhere as an assistant to an assistant. So for you, what does Lane need to be looking for here as far as filling out the 2 positions on his staff that have opened up?
A placeholder. I'm not trying to make light of it, but I think there are a lot of guys out there that could coach that group to success, and and I don't mean that literally. There's some technical stuff that a new coach is going to have to get. I'm intrigued by the idea that being thrown around about Kelvin Bolden being promoted as a wide receiver coach, because I've been told that he's got a really good offer at another school to be the wide receiver coach, that if he's not promoted here, that he's liable to take it. And I think Kelvin's been a big part of the recruiting mechanism here at Ole Miss, and I'd hate to see him go too.
This would be more of a natural fit for Kelvin Bolden if you're trying to get him on the field. He was a former wide receiver, coached wide receivers, like I said, at Florida and elsewhere, and maybe would help explain why when Football Scoop reported that weeks ago that Kelvin Bolden was going to get promoted to tight ends coach, because this was potentially coming open, which was more of a fit anyway.
I thought tight end might be a little awkward for him, a little uncomfortable, because he's never been a tight end or coached tight ends, but he has been a wide receiver. He has coached wide receivers, in some capacity. And, everybody's got to get their first shot sometime, and I think he's been such a proven commodity on the recruiting trail that I just don't see how you ignore that possibility. Now, Lane is a guy that does things his own way, and like you say, there might be a B. Brown out there that we're not even considering or thinking about, but I think a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, so to speak, and Calvin Bolden is definitely the bird in the hand.
The car buying process can be a lot. I know, I've been there. You just want to get in and out with a new car and the best deal. Simple. Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford keeps it simple. They're going to take care of you, get you in and out with your new vehicle with a great deal. Their inventory right now is priced to sell, and what separates Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford from any and all competitors is they aim to address each of your needs with the utmost respect, care, and attention to detail. Contact them today at 662-234-8000. That's 662-234-8000. Stop by and see them in person at 2201 East University Avenue in Oxford. That's Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford to find your next perfect car, truck, or Jeep. Allen Samuels, let's be friends.
Introducing the new and improved BNA Bank mobile app. From setting transaction alerts and tracking your spending habits to managing travel plans and turning off a lost or stolen debit card, you can take care of all of it in the new BNA mobile app. At BNA Bank, we know that life moves pretty fast, and we have the mobile technology to keep up with your life on the go. BNA Bank. Local, invested, modern banking.
Which do you think is more likely? Ole Miss brings two new coaches in to coach tight ends and wide receivers, or only one to coach one of those two positions, and Kelvin Bolden gets promoted. Which is most likely to you?
Oh, you want me to guess what Lane Kiffin's going to do? I don't see how he could go wrong with those two options. But who knows what that dude's thinking? Come on.
Well, whatever happens, we'll have it covered at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and Affiliate of On 3. And you're right. I mean, who knows with Lane Kiffin? He just proved with the hire of Brian Brown that he can pull a hell of a rabbit out of a hat and under the nose of all of us on the beat. I'll freely admit I had no idea that was coming or that was a possibility. So a complete surprise, and maybe that's the direction that Lane Kiffin goes. But like I said, whatever happens, we're going to have it covered at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and Affiliate of On 3, like we do all day, every day, be it Ole Miss football recruiting, basketball recruiting, baseball. We got it covered at the Ole Miss Spirit. And as far as recruiting is concerned, it's been hit after hit, it feels like, lately, including Tyler Barron, the edge from Tennessee, who committed to Ole Miss with his Tennessee teammate Tamarion McDonald, the defensive back, has flipped like McDonald to Louisville. The latest we were hearing was that he was moving into a house in Oxford on Sunday, that Ole Miss had survived, stemmed the tide, and yet now he's a Louisville Cardinal. What do you think about that and kind of where Ole Miss is right now as far as portal recruiting?
I heard he'd moved in Sunday here in Oxford, moved into her house, and then gone on Monday. I mean, this is one of the strangest. We're going to hear strange stories through the years of transfer portal and recruiting, and I could probably write a book about recruiting stories I've heard. This one kind of tops most of them. I mean, why are you doing this? Why would you move into a place at a school you had no intention of going to and leave the next day? It's just crazy stuff that's happening with this transfer portal and NIL that just makes you scratch your head and go, what in the hell is going on?
Well, the loss of Barron certainly reframes Ole Miss's transfer haul so far. Now, Ole Miss still has one of the very best classes in the country, a top 5 class. But DeCameron Richardson was coming in from Mississippi State to start at cornerback, and now he's entering the NFL draft. Tyler Barron, Tamarion McDonald, they're both gone, flipped to Louisville. Ole Miss has taken some hits, and how we talk about this class and how we frame this class has to change a little bit, but nothing for me materially has changed as far as Ole Miss's outlook for 2024. What about you?
Not a thing has changed. It's just the wild, wild west of transfer portal and NIL. And if you can't take the ups and the downs, then you're going to drive yourself crazy, because there are going to be downs and there's going to be ups. And it's like I told somebody the other day, Ben, this is year-round recruiting now. I mean, not that it hadn't always been year-round, but this is year-round results. I mean, instant results. Make an offer, get a kid. Kid gets a bigger offer, go somewhere else. I mean, it's a circus. So if you don't like the three-ring circus, don't watch the elephants, watch the lions. It's odd. I mean, it's strange, and it's just the way it is. And nobody's adapted to that better than Ole Miss has. With the collective, with the way Lane Kiffin views things, he knows it's a broken system, but you navigate through the breaks in it. I'm not concerned at all. Sure, you don't want to lose anybody that you think you've got, and you have to get back on the horse and go find somebody else to replace them. But that's just going to be the nature of the game. The transfer portal has become so much more competitive. There's so many more players in that market now. So many more people have finally caught up with their collectives and their NIL programs that it's just not cherry picking like it was last year.
Fortunately for Ole Miss, though, they did so much legwork before Christmas and their heavy lifting before Christmas that there aren't any pressing needs that they just have to go get right now. Even losing Tyler Barron, you have Princely Umanmielen, who is the number 6 overall transfer according to On3, the number 1 edge. Even when you lose to Mary McDonald, you have Key Lawrence from Oklahoma coming in. You just committed Yam Banks. Taz Nicholson isn't coming in potentially until May. Deion Smith potentially not coming in, the wide receiver, formerly of LSU. JUCO All-American last year until May. But it's not like not having them is going to cripple you as far as your preparations for 2024. Nothing's really changed. With Quinshawn gone and with the money originally planned or allocated for Barron and McDonald, you can go continue to pursue good players. Just get good players. That's where Ole Miss is right now. It's year-round, like you've been saying. It never stops. Ole Miss has added players as late as July. T.J. Dudley was added in July last year and made his debut in the Peach Bowl. This is going to be every day, all day, every week, all week, every month, all month, until the season kicks off in August. And it's a bummer. It's a good player. But Ole Miss will just go get the next one. That's where it is. It has the money, even with the losses, especially with the losses. It has the money, and it has the strength of roster to where it doesn't have to splurge on a particular need area or any particular position because it has to. They can't afford not to get a quarterback like they had with Jackson Dart 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're taking the right attitude toward it, and I just don't see any need for panic in today's system environment. And you were talking about that potential coach that's now in the NFL. Let me ask you something, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. What coach in their right mind would go from the NFL to college now the way college is?
Not a one.
Not a one.
Lane couldn't get his brother to do it, Chuck. All I'm saying is Lane Kiffin is not losing a wink of sleep today. Derrick Nix was beloved here, but he'll replace him. Tyler Barron was a huge ad and a huge haul for Ole Miss before Christmas. It wasn't like he was the make-or-break piece. There isn't a make-or-break piece. That's what is the benefit of getting so many good pieces, of not limiting yourself, of not going all in on one spot and saying, well, we have to have this. Tyler Barron, losing him sucks. That's a tough one. But Lane Kiffin, he's resting easy even today because he's adapted. He understands this culture, and he doesn't get too high or too low. He doesn't take it too personally. He doesn't really take it personally at all. Whether you like it or not, we can bemoan it. He's not. He doesn't care. He's just going to go get the next guy.
Absolutely. It's been his approach all along. I mean, he goes fishing for 10 days and signs 4 people. I mean, the dude is it's just a good staff, good collective. I mean, we're set up for success. So one player, 2 players leaving or not signing or picking somebody else, it's just not like it used to be. There's going to be somebody else.
He's Chuck Rounsaville, my publisher at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and affiliate of On3. Sign up today at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, for the low, low cost of $1. Come hang out with me and Chuck and Zach and Jake as we talk about all things Ole Miss all day at the Ole Miss Spirit. It doesn't matter if it's football, football recruiting, basketball, basketball recruiting, baseball, whatever you fancy. If it's Ole Miss, we talk about it, and only Ole Miss at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and affiliate of On3. Check out the Talk of Champions podcast network wherever you get your podcast. Just simply search Talk of Champions in Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Search Talk of Champions and make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. 5-star review. Doesn't matter what you say as long as it's 5 stars. It helps us out. Chuck, you're the best. Appreciate you, man. We'll talk again.
Hey, buddy. Enjoyed it.